together, we just felt like now was the right time for her to step down. She's still going to be a part of our program, as we talked about in her release. She is so much loved in these hallways and these buildings. Obviously, she's an icon. She's on the Mount Rushmore in the state of Minnesota, but we just felt like now was the right time.
Welcome back to another edition of Enough Said. My name is Dan Barreiro, joined as always by Justin Gaard, and of course to sort of navigate these difficult waters. It's Lori Fisher.
Choppy
Hi, Lori.
seas. It's choppy seas today. I can already feel it.
It is. That pre-show meeting was
Are we talking
fiery.
about? Oh, I thought you meant you're talking about the Whalen situation.
Well, there's
Mark
drama
Coyle,
everywhere.
Or drama everywhere.
No,
That's the answer.
So Lindsay Whalen stepped down as head women's basketball coach at the U of M this less than 24 hours after the team lost to Penn State in the Big Ten tourney. Whalen has been leading the team for 5 seasons. She will remain as a special assistant to athletic director Mark Coyle, who we just heard from. It doesn't sound like, though, it was a resignation. We talked about her being on the clock, but this soon, Dan?
Well, there's a lot of ground to cover here before we get to that part of it. It's fairly clear that this is a case where an athletic director has fired one of his coaches, and that's what's happened. And then you get into the game of, well, why do you play the semantics that are being played here? Are you doing it out of respect for the individual who is a legend? Does she feel respected this way? Does it end up being patronizing? You know me. It's easy for me to say,
right,
but I like cleaner stuff, where I say, as difficult as it is to tell you today, as AD, I thought we couldn't wait any longer. A change needed to be made, and that's the most respectful thing to do. So half the battle, half the challenge is going to be, well, what did happen here? Did she really resign? Was it really mutual, or was it an AD who said he had to make a move? And by all accounts, it's that more than it is that the two of them sat down and said, I think it's time to give somebody else a chance to do the job.
Yeah, I think the intentions were probably good. I think those were Mark's intentions, that this is a legend. We want to be respectful. Right. Certainly everybody loves Lindsay Whalen for what she's done as a player at the U, what she's done as a member of the Lynx, and what she tried to do as a coach. So I think the intentions were good on the front end. The problem was it doesn't seem like the former head coach is going along with the plan necessarily, because she was supposed to speak at that press conference. That obviously didn't happen.
That other microphone was for her, you mean?
The other microphone, her name was on the sheet as you enter into the classroom.
That's a clue, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think that's the problem with the plan. As well-intentioned as it was, it's now kind of gotten needlessly messy. And truthfully, I think some of Mark Coyle's strongest moments as athletic director has been when he's had to make tough decisions like this, whether it was firing Tracy Claeys, whether it was firing Jay Robinson for the wrestling scandal. I thought he handled the Richard Pitino dismissal about as well as you can, essentially allowing Richard to go find the New Mexico job, and then nobody's worse for the wear, right? But this one, I don't think this one got handled the way that was intended to, and that's why I think you've seen such a strong reaction, because as we've talked about, the case is pretty easy to make on why you would want to make a change. Personally, I would have been fine giving her a 6th year and letting her see these freshmen come through. I think you would have as well. We talked about it on the radio, but there's enough evidence to back up the decision. You know what? It's not working here, and I do want to go in a different direction, and I think most people would be able to live with that. But that's not what we're talking about, really, the last few days, because of how it just kind of got clunky.
Yeah, in a perfect world, I would be admitting, deferring to the legend. I'd give her the extra year, especially because of the freshman. But I do think an AD has a right to say, let's look at these Big Ten records.
Sure.
11-5, 104-94, 38-30. The 3 previous coaches in the Big Ten, Lindsay's is 31-56. And so I've seen enough. I don't want to wait another year. Now, there's risks in this day and age, because now everybody might want to get out of Dodge.
Right.
And then you are literally starting over again when you're frankly just about starting over with the Gopher program, men's side, notwithstanding a very nice come-from-behind victory last night. But there's enough here, and even this season, you're around this team all the time, record-wise, what was it, like 9 of their last 11 they lost. So if you're even looking for, okay, they're freshmen, but man, we're really seeing signs, and we've won 6 out of 7, or I'm not sure those signs are there. So I think an AD, I would have said, I've waited this long, I'll wait one more year just to be sure.
Right.
She had no experience. So I'm going to defer on the legendary status and the fact that she has no previous coaching experience to let it play out and then make the move. But the record speaks for itself. It is not good right now at that program.
You mentioned the freshmen. That's the next thing to watch. And Coyle, was asked about that. Is it possible that they all leave? And it is possible because it is a different time. But he knows that. Like, he doesn't make that decision. Of course, he wouldn't want it. They're talented. They're local. Everybody seems to like them.
Enough said.
But it is going to be interesting to see if any of them make a different decision now.
I did want to point out she did tweet that she was overcome with emotion, that she's a human being, and that she will have a news conference in the near future. So we will hear from her.
I hope we get a chance to talk to her on the radio as well.
The Vikings at the NFL Combine this week, the annual scouting showcase at Lucas Oil Stadium. They have the 23rd pick in the draft next month. Still a lot of questions, though, on contracts and extensions with current players. At least we know the Vikings are happy, though, because in the first ever team report card by the NFL Players Association, the Vikings were ranked #1 overall for team travel, food service, the gathering area for the families after the game.
So nice. So nice.
By the way, #1's up for something.
Do you have the whole list, Lori?
I have well, I know that it's post-game gathering, food service, weight room.
The other teams.
Dolphins #2.
Where are the
Raiders,
Kansas City Chiefs?
I don't have the entire list.
Are they very high?
I just know Dolphins 2 and Raiders #3.
Okay.
The Raiders #3.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
Interesting.
It's for the collaborators, they're aroused right now. I'm sure they're very happy about this.
Well, does Zimmer get any credit for
wonderful.
this?
No, of course he doesn't.
He might have had something to do with the player meeting area.
No, we changed everything.
Oh, we did, didn't we?
changed everything.
Yeah,
you know that
That's
as well. Look, in terms of what players think, outside players, your organization, could it be helpful when you're looking for a free agent a little bit if somebody's trying to break a tie? Yeah, I mean, you want to have the feeling this is a player-friendly place to play. But in the end, let's face it, what most fans are going to be interested in, and I hope the coaches, is where are you going? Where is the program going? And we all know, even though we only have right now, I think, 4 draft choices, maybe 5 if we add a supplementary pick, that this is another key off-season with a lot of open questions that I don't think there are any easy answers to. In other words, I don't think that just being high on a list like that necessarily means, fine, we're good, we've now solved our defensive problems. And that still is what's sitting here facing this team is how do we navigate give ourselves the best chance to make a big jump defensively. We know the offense is fine to good, right?
Yep.
But we know nothing. We have no trust in this defense at this point, no matter how happy people were in the facility.
Well, I want to know how the voting was swayed because it was such a big difference between, are they really that happy or do they just feel happy because Zimmer is gone?
Yeah.
And maybe they said, this is the best place in the world. Relief. And by the way, for free agents, will you take a pay cut to come to the happiest place in the world? Because that's what it's going to take. We just saw the Justin Jefferson video, a bunch of his highlights from this year.
Are you ready to trade him for three #1s?
No, but it is interesting
Some people are.
that Kwesi was asked about it because obviously he's up for an extension, right? He could get an extension this season.
30 seconds.
What that is going to look like, and is JJ comfortable with everything moving forward? And I'm also talking about Kirk Cousins, the quarterback, who I think they're going to have to make some type of decision on probably this offseason in terms of extension as well. Yeah. Ben Lieber, who we see on Vikings Game Day Live every Sunday, had an interesting tweet this week. I'm curious what you think about it, saying, JJ is going to get his money wherever he goes. JJ probably wants to know what's going on at QB. His theory, Dan, was you got to get the Cousins thing worked out first and get an extension for Cousins, and then JJ is going to be good to go. Do you agree?
Well, it's possible, but I mean, can you do both? And given all the money that's involved here, I don't know. I just know there are places like Kansas City where Mahomes is a quarterback where you can afford to let your best wide receiver go, as they did with Tyreek Hill.
Sure.
As long as number 8's your quarterback, you have to have, that's the irony here, you need Justin Jefferson.
Right.
I mean, I don't think, he's a good quarterback, but he doesn't elevate the way some of the best ones do. He needs special weapons like Justin Jefferson, and that's what he is.
Has The Athletic done fan happiness surveys yet? Have they done those yet? I'd be curious.
Because I don't think we do. I guess it would depend on when the survey went out.
Yeah, I don't think we'd be number one.
Vikings got a lot of A+s. I'm just
If it went out
saying.
after the Packers-Lions game, Week 18, we might be number one.
Okay, we have to move on.
Was the menu actually one of the items?
Like how many times they
we
get
have great
fed.
food.
And
that's great.
And it's free. Cardinals, they charge their players, not us.
They have a great locker room and training facility.
Well, I hope so.
It's all new. Okay, the Wild.
Maybe we're making it too easy for people.
The Wild are back
up
country
club.
Second in the Western Conference behind the Dallas Stars. They beat the Islanders in a shootout Tuesday night at home. Then it was off to Canada, where they beat the Vancouver Canucks last night. They played Calgary on Saturday. The NHL trade deadline today. The Wild making a few moves. Dan.
Boy, we got to hope that they don't make one at
A
like
blockbuster?
3:30. Well, I guess 2 o'clock is the deadline later this afternoon. I'm not holding my breath. They made 2, I would say, moves that might pay off, but when one of the players isn't going to be available till probably the playoffs at the earliest, and the other is a guy you had before who's middle of the road, Johansson, who's had a better year this year. None of that moves the needle, but we're back to understanding that they really can't move the needle because of the contract restrictions they're under. They can take money now, but they can't take money for contracts that extend in the next season, which is maddening.
Right.
So
And
I
unique.
guess we're back to Kaprizov or bust. If we can get Kaprizov to average 2 goals a game
Yep.
the
Hang
rest
the
of
banner.
the season and postseason, we got a shot to make a little bit of run. Because somebody had the stat today, may have been The Athletic. He's involved in like 37% of all their scoring, all their goals this season. I think he scored like 5 of their last 6. He is right now ridiculous. And the goaltending is not good. It is very good. And if you can count on that, maybe you can win a series. I don't know.
Well, our favorite stat on the Kaprizov thing was a couple of weeks ago when they had not scored a goal without him on the ice in like 7 games.
Yeah,
You're going back like 10
telling.
days.
Yep.
We should change. Is they a pronoun? Because Lori kept saying they won, they did this, they did that.
Yep.
Can we just change it from now on to Kaprizov did that? Because that's what it's feeling like, right? It doesn't feel like
30.
a group effort, so to speak. But for right now, that's enough. He's absolutely absurd. You mentioned the goaltending is good. And it's interesting that we're hearing some of the old guard already somehow, they're trying to make 2003 comparisons, Dan. They're trying to say.
They are?
Yeah, like this
boy.
is, it's Marion Gaborik and a cast of characters and a couple of good goaltenders because that's what it feels like because in a way that's kind of cool because that's the best team that, the Wild have ever had, the furthest they've ever advanced. But in a way it's also an indictment. As I'm sure Wes Walls and the 2003 team would tell you, it's like we weren't that good. We were kind of grinders and we kind of relied on Marion Gaborik. Like they need to be a little bit better than that if they actually want to make a good type of run.
When can we be just good across the board and not have to sort of excuse me our way in? That's what we're waiting for. I don't know if we'll ever get that date in front of us, unfortunately.
I think that this is a terrific move to make sure that kids are not being driven by artificial intelligence or machine learning to spend more time than they want to online. About 50% of kids are reporting at least one symptom of clinical dependency on social media.
Welcome back to Enough Said. The popular social media app TikTok is launching some new features to try to curb kid use. In the coming weeks, users under 18 will have a daily 1-hour scrolling limit. Minors would need a passcode from parents to get more time, and those under 13 would need a code for an extra 30 minutes. Good luck having your kids ask you for a passcode. I don't know how many times they can do it, but good luck. Good luck to you, Dan.
I need it. I don't know. I'm doubtful that this is going to work. And there's even the larger question now is there's momentum to have the president basically ban all of TikTok here. And there's like First Amendment issues there. And I also know there's security concerns.
That's one way to lose the young voters too, by the way.
Well, that's been raised.
You're out.
This whole thing is a little overwhelming to me. But do either of you, I'd like Lori in on this too, think that it's workable? You got kids. Is it workable that this is going to curb kids' uses?
My children are not on TikTok. They're on my older one's on Snapchat,
right.
And I think Instagram. And we do have limits. I think what's annoying is when they ask for more time.
Yeah, that's
and then you just fight with your kids
that's
saying,
it.
no, stop
Yes.
asking
Ongoing
me. So then
negotiations.
it's just going to start a fight.
Yes.
And they're still, going down the rabbit hole of comparing themselves to other people and just
But can't that be done on other
scrolling.
sites, guys?
Yes.
It
I
can
mean, that's
too.
the other thing.
It's all just really think
It's
about
like
when you
water.
let
It
your
finds
kids
its
have
level.
it.
It's like a river. It's going to go where the path of least resistance. Yeah, it's well intentioned to use that word for the second time in the show tonight. But do we think it's going to have any meaningful impact? Probably not. Because first of all, an hour. What's the line? Or do we have studies that say an hour a day is fine? Apple a day keeps the doctor away. An hour a day, same thing. Yeah. You're going to be fine. And as Lori mentioned it, I mean, everything with kids is a negotiation, isn't it? Well, you had it for an hour, you're done. But I only used 45 minutes yesterday. Can I get an extra 15? It's putting, I think, an extra stressor on parents when it comes to the social media deal, which maybe we're dealing with
30.
anyway, and that's a distinction without a difference. But I just don't think I don't have high hopes for it, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, I think a lot. I mean, TikTok's obviously under heat. So they're trying to save themselves from the ongoing, debate or about the ongoing possibility that they go away completely, which I'm still not even sure I completely understand. And as Gaardsy said, if not this, there's something. I don't. I got.
How about the app that only lets you do positive posts? Did you see that headline from earlier in the week? There's apparently a positive social media post or platform.
Enough said.
That's not going to go anywhere.
Which is even more ridiculous than this.
Just
People
advice
don't like
for Justin and anybody else whose children don't have social media yet. Really think about it, because once you give it to them, it's tough to take away.
Yeah.
But if you hold out, like I have a 12-year-old and he doesn't have anything, you hold out. Even if everybody has it, everybody.
Are you sure?
Everyone has it.
He just sent me an Instagram message the other day.
Stop it. Okay, moving on. That's weird. The Wolves are out west playing the Lakers tonight and the Kings tomorrow night. Earlier this week, they managed to snap their 3-game losing streak, beating the Clippers, and are back to 500 this season. Dan?
Well, I've tried to sort of be patient and go along with all the insiders who are close to this team and report on this team regarding just how careful any player who suffers a torn calf muscle has to be. In the case of Karl Anthony Towns, of course. I'm done being patient. I want answers. I have to believe that behind the scenes there is angst, fear, loathing, and frustration that now, 13 weeks into this injury, we got nothing. He's still not practicing with the team. And at some point, there really does need to be some sort of congressional investigation. I mean, in all honesty, how can we go this long without, no one's going to say it publicly, but players go, what's going on here? Where is this ending? And who's in charge of the rehab? Is it the Wolves or is it his camp? Is it Cat's camp?
Right.
And if there is like suspicion or a belief on the part of Cat that he doesn't trust the approach that the Wolves want to make, at some point, doesn't this have to come to a head? This has gotten to the point of being, in my view, ridiculous.
Yeah, not enough information, not enough transparency. Even with Cat saying, well, it was never going to be the 6 to 8 weeks or whatever it is. Okay, well, how long was it supposed to be then? Because even with LeBron and Steph Curry here, like LeBron's going to be out 3 weeks. We know
30
that,
seconds.
right? He's out 3 weeks.
Correct.
They're going to reevaluate him in 3 weeks. We've gotten none of that. And the sad part is right now is they need him, because they traded their other scorer.
That's going to make it better.
I mean, D'Angelo Russell, who coincidentally is not available tonight when the Lakers take on the Wolves at what they used to call Staples Center. I think it's a crypto thing now, although that might be bankrupt too. I don't know. But they need him. I mean, and because you've seen the last couple of weeks, like Anthony Edwards can't do it all on his own in terms of clutch scoring. And they've had issues with that. And what a classic Wolves week, by the way, to lose to the Hornets at home, the Warriors depleted, and then beat the Clippers with Kawhi and Paul George both playing on the road. That's a Wolves season in a nutshell right there that week.
By the way, his level injury, according to him, was supposed to be 8 to 12 weeks. We're now on week 13, and he hasn't even practiced. So, no, this is not a good look. And at some point, I got to believe the player has to be held to account, I'm hoping.
Next up, some new key rules by the MLB are now in effect, including a pitch clock to cut down on the game time, the size of the base bags, 18 square inches instead of 15, in hopes of reducing player injuries. As we've seen at spring training, the changes are throwing some players off. Justin?
Which is, I think that means we need more rules like this, because I think, and
there's more. I didn't say them all either.
But just keep going. The crazier, the better. We've talked on this topic endlessly on the radio show that the players got way too comfortable just dictating literally everything that was going on out there. Games took forever. At-bats took forever. Everything took forever. And there was no, I guess, realization that this is probably hurting us a little bit. In a world where everybody's on TikTok and they want a new thing every 13 seconds, we got to make some changes. So I actually kind of like it that the players are rankled a little bit, and I'd like to see the crazier the better, because it seems like things are moving along. Some of these spring training games are going like 90 minutes. It seems like the intended consequences are working.
Pace of play is improving dramatically. Now, baseball, the other big piece that baseball has to fix is just lack of action, right? People on base. This can't necessarily dictate that, but if we're going to still have the same strikeouts, walks, home runs, better that it takes 2.5 hours to do it rather than 3:15, for God's sake. So I love it. And I'm almost hoping that, too, pitchers, I think, have an advantage here if they want to use it. And maybe that convinces hitters to become smarter hitters, more willing to make contact, not being as concerned about launch angle. So maybe it even helps there as well. But I think it's all good. It's going to get painful when it costs a team a game during the regular season in ways that we don't really understand because in spring training.
Right.
But if that's got to be part of the process, players have themselves to blame because they did not police themselves internally enough the last several decades. It's on them.
Up next, we're going to talk about State Fair because we love talking about the State Fair.
Never get enough of it.
Can't wait to go.
And happiest cities in the U.S.
We're doing the show from out there, right?
Right around the corner.
Don't put pressure on me. It's time for the Enough Said lightning round. We've heard a lot about Gentry Academy lately, the charter school in Vadnais Heights, known for its successful hockey programs, and some rival schools aren't crazy about scheduling games with them, Justin.
Well, no, and they're winning state championships, as they should. They get an extra hour a day to just go skate around at their rink that's a block away from the school.
Not supervised practices. They're just skating.
True. My problem in this case is not with Gentry High School. Or Gentry Academy. It's with the high school league for letting them play. It's pretty obvious what this school is. I'm not discounting that kids aren't learning. I'm not discounting that they're not getting an education. But I am accounting for what they're actually there to do, which is play hockey as much as possible.
Next up.
And I know that high school sports are insane as it is. Everybody recruits. There's open enrollment, private, public, the whole deal. This one's a little bit too much for me. And I don't blame them, because they are what they say they are.
Lou Nanne was inducted into the Minnesota Sports Hall of Fame this week. Nanne played for the Gophers in the 60s, named a first team All-American, team captain. The list of his accomplishments
we'd run out of time.
on and on and on, Dan.
Well, I was shocked he wasn't already in this one. He's in like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Pretty soon, apparently, he's got a chance of being named to the Italian Hall of Fame in Chicago. It's just, and you say, well, what's the connection? Well, it's Louis. I mean, there's always a connection with him. So much earned and deserved, but he's approaching double digits when it comes. They're going to start running out of halls of fame.
And he's so nice.
It's a lot of
plaques.
He's a really
remarkable.
nice person.
And he still never stops.
More State Fair grandstand announced. Acts. Tickets are on sale for Rochester, Minnesota native Young Gravy, Justin's favorite performer.
I was going to say, Lori, what's your favorite Young Gravy?
The only one I know is like "Never Gonna Give You Up," "Never Gonna," and that's Rick Astley, and he took from Rick Astley, and I think there might be a lawsuit on that right now.
That's a bad song.
Well, hopefully he has it resolved by the time he hits the grandstand. I kind of like the lineup this year. Of course, we just call them the Chicks now, right?
The Chicks, August 25th.
That one's going to be big. What else do we have coming?
My son just asked the first night of the fair for Duran Duran tickets.
Duran
so we might be
Duran?
going
What
there.
an old
Your son is interested in Duran Duran?
He's an old soul. Is that the same one that likes Sting?
Yes.
There you go.
Hungry like a wolf.
And finally, when it comes to happiest cities in the U.S., Minneapolis, 17th, St. Paul, 73rd.
That's the best.
This is according to Wallet Hub.
What a
Top
gap.
spot, Fremont, California, near San Jose. Last, Detroit, where my brother lives, and he loves it there. Guys,
You know what's funny about this list is it's not exactly going to add to the chip on the shoulder that St. Paul already has, right?
Yeah,
that'll go away now that there's that gap between Minneapolis and St. Paul. They'll love that there.
And Minneapolis will flex like Minneapolis likes to flex, right, on St. Paul. So
or we'll also say, why are we not in the top 10?
I thought you were going to say, why isn't Apple Valley #1?
Well, it should be after the way it handled the last blizzard.
I was going to say they're probably lower than Detroit right now, given the blizzard. Have they dug out yet?
Have they started school? Have they gone back to school yet in Apple
Everyone
Valley?
is okay.
Oh, they're okay. Good.
Enough said.
All right, thank you.